So this comment came right in time. And this comment is from 1212, who I think is Thugtician. But anyway, the comment says, yeah, that's a very masculine jawline. Her jaw slash head is bigger than Chance the Rapper's. Also, in more truly unfortunate news, Calvin Klein just hired a dark skinned black trans model by the name of Jari Jones and has a billboard of his human, was it of this human walking it? I don't know what that is. This it is also very fat and overweight too. The media is definitely trying to equate slash usher in transgender with being a dark skinned black woman. The really sad part about this is that many black women actually many black actual women would accept and relate to that as opposed to an attractive black woman like Lindsay Scott, who's a thin, attractive runway model and computer programmer. And you know, I've already said this when what they did with Chica, and they threw her up there in the Calvin Klein ad. I've already pointed this out, that all this sort of transgender and all this experimenting always has to do with black women, and it never has to do with other races of women, especially white women. White women always maintain their ideal form of femininity, where now all the social justice warriors um, think that diversity means ushering in this new shit that basically skips over black women ever getting any feminine shine. I'm saying I gotta look at some of these women like, number one, I told you so, and then number two, I look at a lot of these women like, you brought a lot of this shit onto yourselves. As much as they want to go up and they want to blame black men and highlight, oh, black men did this and black men said that. I'm saying, Kat sent me a link to Chrissy's vid, um, between the 20-minute mark and the 30-minute mark of a recent live stream that she did. Now, she goes into talking about, the way that you get these black men that, are trying to get black women to be warriors. Again, I have a different opinion on that. I look at a lot of these men as the byproducts of matriarchy. If your mom is Bell Hooks, or if your mom is, even any of those feminist Black Panther women, or just a feminist in general, Alice Walker is your mother. Like, what are you going to be on? Are you going to be a strong patriarch, or are you going to be the type that's going to be out here believing in matriarchy or believing in, all this equality? You're not going to put black women or any other woman on a pedestal like that when it comes to, um, what do you call it? Traditional Eurocentric gender roles, as it would be seen. And the sad part is, and I've always pointed this out when the women talk about, ideas of loyalty and everything else like that. I'm like, regardless of what these boys are are being taught by their mothers a lot of times, that media is powerful. And the ideas of what actually is feminine and is desirable in their eyes is going to be those white women that they see on TV, because of the way that TV and media promotion works. Despite what they're being taught, they'll just, in other words, they just end up putting black women in a different category where they can be warriors, but the women that are the objects of their affection are non-black women and white women. And so that's why that ends up playing out the way that it does. It does. A lot of women are trying to push the idea that it's some nefarious thing, and they're trying to make black women the mules. I'm like, no, they really believe that, that is not only what black women want, but they also believe that, that it's empowering and all that other stuff. But, again, that's not what they want to sleep with. That's not what, makes the dick hard. None of that shit, So, um, this ends up presenting as a problem, later on. But obviously, women are going to interpret the way that they interpret it. And what I'm saying, they're going to be like, no, that's not it. That's not it. But I'm like, okay. But anyway, getting on to, Chrissy's live chat, I'm going to tell you what I found interesting. And again, Cap highlighted it and pointed it out to me. There's a couple interesting things. I'm like, I can't believe that these women are actually fighting for the right to look a hot mess. And this has already been talked about and addressed before. Fighting for the right to look a hot mess. Fighting for the right to walk out of the house wearing a bonnet. And you had women that Chrissy was addressing, who she was, basically, she was countering, them accusing her of being classist and these ideas that femininity is Eurocentric and all this nonsense that I've already highlighted and talked about before on my own channel. But what I noticed is it's no different than the only way I'm going to follow a black man is if he wins a race war, because she brought up the point about, femininity is not designed, to, have it to where black women, are going to, topple the system of white supremacy or, end world hunger, all this sort of extreme, shit that like, oh, well, we're not down with that unless it does this. It's like, it's not even designed to do that, but I'm just pointing out that that's the exact same argument that your extreme, feminist and whatnot, we're not going to submit to black men until they win a race war. And we're not going to get feminine until it ends world hunger. That's retardedness. But, I already know that ultimately these women are trying to eliminate standards as a whole. The idea that I can't fit into the criteria, that exists in the world currently. And I want to be able to do whatever I want to do. And the only way that I can, at least philosophically be philosophically consistent about that is I have to push the idea that, anything and everything should go. And so we're eliminating all standards. We're eliminating all hierarchies, all parameters, and then what you end up with is shit that ain't nobody checking for, that nobody wants to get with, and then it ushers in all this other nonsense like you see with Jari Jones or Jara Jones. I don't know how to say his damn name. You're using the wrong pronoun. I don't give a fuck whether I'm using them, but it's a fucking man dressed up like a damn woman. And I'm saying that as a heteronormative cisgendered male. Like, again, like being heterosexual is no longer normal. Now I have my own category. I'm a heteronormative cisgendered male. Like, even though you're transgender and gay people only make up like 3% and 1% of the population respectively, but this is what has happened. And I'm saying, shame on you black women for a lot of you who fucking ushered this shit in, because you were, you had whatever issues you had and you took shit too far, and you thought that, jumping on these other bandwagons was going to help you. I mean, I saw this, when the whole transgender women, went out of their way and they were like, yes, black women, you need to talk to heteronormative cisgendered men into being attracted to us and telling them it's okay to be attracted to us. Like, no, if a man is attracted to you who is straight, he's not straight. It's just that simple. But they were up there pushing the idea that, the transgender women were like, no, if you're our allies, you will tell your heterosexual black men that you're already having problems with, that they need to be interested in us. Or my favorite, bitch, I'll take your man. First it was, what about black girls magic? What about trans girls magic? Then they were busting an elbow in their way in the room. I'm like, y'all brought that shit on you yourselves. As homophobic and transphobic as black men were being accused of, like, yo, we ain't down with that. But the women, because they, love to bond and, all inclusivity, they ushered that shit in. And so as a result, we have a lot of this mess going on that the women are having to deal with, which is one of the reasons why I like when men leave the room. It's like what Cap used to tell me. He's like, if you ever get off the women, man, he's like, you'll see the type of bullshit that black men are on. And he's right. And when the women get off the men, I'm like, you'll see the type of bullshit that these other women are on. I mean, they are literally fighting for the right. Chrissy, you're classist, and you. What about the poor women, and what about women that don't want to do all that or subscribe to all that? You don't have to subscribe to all that, but you're not going to win. You're not going to get men's attention. I thought it was about the fact that you're not getting men's attention, and they're all colorist, and they all want white women, and all that other stuff. I thought that's what it was all about. You see. And so now you end up with a situation where they're not winning. And now that, they're bitching, but the fact of the matter is that they never really wanted to win. Not like that. Not in a reasonable sense. I mean, and the thing is like these women are the female versions of the men that like when we get to talking about money, and talking about how you should have your resources in ducks in a row before you get into a relationship or get into marriage. They bucket. Oh man, it ain't about the money. Those guys. And I'm saying these women are basically on it ain't about the beauty. It ain't about femininity. I don't need to do all that. Okay, well then don't do all that. And see, unfortunately, these men and women that are on this bullshit, they outnumber, and not only outnumber us, they outproduce us. I mean, this is what the majority of the community is. It's part of the reason why a lot of today's current black men and black women get so frustrated with each other, because we are not the majority. The people who are in these conversations, who are in the know, who want better. You know what I'm saying? We're not in the in the majority. We are in the minority. And, again, this is why I love when each respective gender leaves the conversation of the gender they love to argue with, because when they do, they're only confronted with their own circles. All that shit that Chrissy going through and whoever's coming at her and so whoever's saying whatever, I'm like, that's women shit. Black men ain't got nothing to do with that. They ain't got nothing to do with that. And, all of the, these women coming at her about, femininity, this, and I already knew it. I was nigga on the shit. I was like, oh, this train is coming. I was like, y'all definitely gonna butt heads on this. You know what I'm saying? Between the feminist women and the LGBT and the trans and the social justice warriors and everything else. Like, I'm like, they're not gonna like hypergamy, because hypergamy has standards. You know what I'm saying? Hypergamy has criteria where, it's like, well, this woman is better than this woman, or this woman has more value than this woman. It's the same as, a man making, $200,000 has more value to a woman than a man making, $40,000. That's just, it is what it is. You know what I mean? But these people, these social justice warriors that literally want to social justice everything and tear down the whole system until there's basically nothing left. These are the people that they hate standards. They do not want there to be a standard. I don't care what it is. At least they're consistent with the whole, if they want to operate on some, I want to be able to do whatever I want to do, or I don't want there to be any hierarchies. They understand that they would have to topple, the whole system, the system as a whole, the system of white supremacy. But the stupid thing is there's always going to be standards. I don't care if you break it down to, us having nothing. You know what I'm saying? You know what you're going to be left with? The women who have fat asses are still going to have more value than the women that don't have asses in the black community. The men who are taller are still going to have more value in the eyes of women than the men who are shorter. The men who have muscles will still have more value than the men who don't have muscles. So there's always going to be a hierarchy and a stratification. You know what I'm saying? Even once you eliminate material wealth and material goods and everything, those who are more intelligent and smarter, the women will probably seek out the men who are smarter, because who wants a dumbass? You see what I'm saying? The men are going to choose and seek out the women who are more beautiful. And again, we're talking about some God-given shit here. Everything I just named is God-given. I'm not talking about anything that it has to do with what society gives you. So right off top, there's always going to be stratification. A woman who is childless is going to have more value than a woman that has 3 kids from 3 different men. That's just the reality of the situation. But you have people who, they want to tear that down. I was talking to somebody earlier today about that, about how, I don't believe that anybody like actually wants to be a single mother. I know there's some wild, crazy bitches out there, but I'm like, nah, most of them, the only reason they talk all that, single mothers are on par with childless women is because they fucked up and they ended up in that situation. But that's not where they started. If you could hop in the time machine and catch them when they were childless, they probably, would be on some, I plan to get married and this, that, and the third. And, they would be talking some sense. But because they're in that situation and they don't want to be confronted with the fact that now they have less value than they had before, now they want to sit there and they want to say that there's no difference, and they want to change the criteria and change the rules and change the parameters and, make it seem like, they have the same value as they once did. And that's just not the case. That's not how the world works. But that's what some of these people are doing, but hold on, I'm just looking at a comment. But I just think it's funny, because I've already said this. I say I didn't predict it. Go on my timeline, go on my community timeline, and go look at that tab where you see them two trains crashing together. I already predicted this. I already knew this was going to be a problem. Because so these radical women over there, they're not here, to bring to bring balance to anything. That's not what they're here for. What they're here for is they're here to have it to where it's just total anarchy. I'm not even seeing where what they're presenting is even anything that anybody even wants or finds desirable, and they don't care. They're like, nah, we're gonna toss this. And you know what the really fucked up part is, because I'm actually starting to ramble a little bit. The really fucked up part is that, like, when I look at even what like the hypergamous camp is trying to do, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, and the reason why they care about, what these other women are doing is because, we're talking about corrective promotion here. Black women's reputation, physically speaking, is trash. And again, here you got white media like Calvin Klein going out and grabbing a transgender man who's overweight, right? And a man will never look as good as, a female. An actual female. A man trying to be a female never look as good. And then they're presenting him as a black woman. So not only is he overweight, which is already the stereotype for black women, but then on top of that, he's he's a man, and then therefore has manly features, and then is being presented as this black woman. And I'm like, do you understand how damaging that is to y'all image? Meanwhile, white women and other races of women get to be presented as the most feminine women in the world. You see how fucked up that is? And then you have women talking about, it's my right to go to Walmart with a damn bonnet on and a damn shower cap. It's my right to be as sloppy and overweight as I possibly can be, and I don't care. And I'm not trying to live up to such and such a standard or appease men or patriarchy or be a handmaiden and this, that, and the third. And so like there's no team play. There's really no team play. One thing I will say about black men, and maybe this is because we have had a relatively positive image in terms of our physical desirability. But when it comes to black men, it's like we all try to live up to that, or many of us try to live up to that, live up to the athleticism, live up to the muscles and hypermasculinity. Whether it's niggas in jail or niggas on the basketball team or football team, there's this stereotype of physicality that black men constantly want to maintain. But when it comes to black women, and we could say, well, the media doesn't promote that, so black women don't desire that because they don't see themselves in the spotlight. I do understand that facet of it. But there's the other facet where it's like, if it's a problem and you're trying to correct it, then in order to correct it, you're going to need multiple people on board. It's like if you're in a nice neighborhood, I don't know if you've seen nice suburban neighborhoods with excellent curb appeal and everything else like that. That neighborhood only looks good because everybody in the neighborhood participates and contributes to the curb appeal of the neighborhood. Everybody's lawn is manicured. If one person's lawn is manicured, or if sporadically throughout the community a bunch of people's lawns are not manicured, then it's not going to look like a high value neighborhood that you want to look in. This is where you get into associations, where they make ordinances and things like that. Like, you can't have an abandoned car on the street. Your yard has to be cut. Every spring you have to put down mulch, and they have all these rules. And see, this is why a lot of times, they don't want black people in the neighborhoods. And I have seen black people who have moved into predominantly white neighborhoods and they fucked it up. And they didn't cut their lawn. And I'm like, God damn it, why has it got to be the black person? That's what I say to myself. I'm like, God damn it, why has it got to be the black? Why can't this nigga cut his lawn? Why is this dude's mailbox lopsided? Why is this dude have an abandoned car in his front yard? Like, what is this, right? Because, like white people, they're always going to sit there. They'll be like, aha, see, we knew it. We knew it. We knew it. Because that's a stereotype, right? Even though we all know that a lot of the problems that exist with that are tied to, lack of resources and whatnot. It was like, well, why don't black people renovate? Because they don't have the resources to do so. But when you get into a community where you can afford it, and then you just choose not to, like, that's where I end up having a problem with people. I'm like, so you just choosing not to. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though despite we have this negative stereotype, and I hate that shit because then that shit spills on to me. You know what I mean? I got to sit there and I hate having to do it, but I'm like, look, man, I don't co-sign that shit either. You know what I mean? Yeah, my man hasn't cut his grass in 2 months. I'm like, I don't co-sign that either. That shit looks bad, and it looks bad on me, and I'm aware of the fact it looks bad on me. I don't want a fucking bunch of white neighbors sitting around talking about, well, that's true. That's why we really don't want those blacks here. Like, I don't want them saying that because that reflects on me as well. And so when we're talking about, black women and their beauty and femininity and shit like that, I totally get, Chrissy's frustration and other black women who are in the hypergamous camps frustration with these other women. But see, y'all love to form sisterhoods and y'all love to swear up and down that y'all on the same page and y'all form Voltron and that, it's all evil black men and that all black women, they all care about the same thing. And it's bullshit. Y'all don't. Y'all got internal conflicts, with each other, and y'all don't want to own it until you get to these moments, and then it's just a fucking cat fight, and then y'all scratching at each other and everything else like that, and then again, this only supports a lot of the grievances that black men have been filing. It ain't all bullshit. When dudes jump up and they sit there and they say they don't look that good, or they say that they're masculine or they're not feminine and whatnot, to the ones that are filing legitimate complaints, this is what they're talking about. I'm not the one that made a video talking about it's my right to wear a fucking bonnet. It's my right to go to Walmart in my fucking pajamas and a shower cap and shit like that. I see it. I'm not the one that made a video, talking about it. I see it. I just go out there and I choose, not to deal with it. I don't, but a lot of you all get upset about that. A lot of you all get mad, but I'm like, dude's been saying it. They've been calling it out, but, people want to, they want to argue and they want to fight and they want to pretend like they don't see it. And I'm like, well, I have spoken, that's all I can say about it. But, no, that's pretty much all I got to say. So, I don't know what else. I don't know what else more I could say about it. So that's my video. I'm out.